There comes a moment in life when the weight of silence becomes heavier than the weight of words. A moment when the air itself feels suffocating, not because there is nothing to say, but because what burns inside has been kept unspoken for too long. The truth is, silence is not always a sanctuary. At times it becomes a cage, and the demand for your silence is the demand for your surrender. They ask for your silence when you need to speak because silence maintains their comfort, their control, their illusion that nothing is wrong. But deep within, you know the silence is no longer a choice, it is a burden that denies your existence. When you are told to remain silent, it is rarely because your voice has no value. It is because your voice carries weight. Words can disrupt, they can unravel carefully constructed facades, they can cut through the false narratives others depend on to sustain themselves. Silence in such moments is a convenient tool for those who fear the truth. They ask you to hold your tongue because they know the release of your words will bring light where shadows have hidden for too long. They know that once your voice breaks the air, there is no way to contain it again. To silence someone is to strip them of power, to make them doubt the strength of their own expression. Yet power does not dissolve simply because it is quieted. Power stored within grows restless. It shakes against the walls built to contain it. Every thought that is pushed down presses harder against the mind. Every word unsaid becomes louder within the heart. The silence they demand from you is not peace. It is pressure. A pressure that, when carried for too long, begins to fracture the soul. The irony is that they ask for your silence precisely at the moment when your voice is most needed. They sense that the words you hold could alter the direction of your life, could ignite change, could reveal what has been hidden. They know your voice is capable of tearing down walls that were never meant to stand. And so silence is requested, demanded, expected, not as a gift to you, but as a shield for them. The human spirit, however, was not designed to remain voiceless. Expression is not simply about communication, it is survival. To speak is to affirm that you exist, that your presence cannot be erased by another's fear. To speak is to reclaim the space that has been denied to you, to breathe air into the lungs of your own freedom. Silence, when chosen, can be power, but silence when forced is bondage. It is a slow erasure of the self, and to live within that erasure is to live in exile from your own truth. Think of the moments when your heart has pulsed with urgency, when your entire body has whispered to you that now is the time to release what you carry. In those moments, silence is not peace, it is betrayal. A betrayal of the soul's insistence that your truth deserves to be heard. To remain silent is to deny your own alignment with life, to fracture the connection between what is felt and what is expressed. Each time you are silent when you need to speak, you step further away from your essence. You learn to cage yourself in a prison you did not build but continue to inhabit. They ask for your silence because your speech holds consequences. But consequence is not to be feared. It is the proof that your voice matters. If your words had no impact, no one would try to bury them. The very act of demanding your silence is an acknowledgement of your strength. They recognize what you may have forgotten, that one voice can unsettle, awaken, and inspire. That a single truth spoken with clarity can echo louder than 1,000 lies held in silence. When the world asks for silence, it is tempting to fold into yourself, to obey, to believe that compliance will bring peace. But silence offered to preserve another's comfort only deepens your discomfort. The words remain unresolved, and their weight grows heavier with time. You begin to carry not only your silence, but also the unspoken consequences of what should have been said. Silence in such moments is not the absence of noise, it is the presence of suppressed fire. Fire that eventually consumes you from within. It is not rebellion to speak when silenced, it is restoration. Restoration of dignity, restoration of authenticity, restoration of the bond between your inner world and the outer expression of it. To deny yourself the right to speak is to fragment your being into pieces, one that feels and another that hides, and fragments do not shine as brightly as the whole. Wholeness requires expression. The choice is never simple, for the cost of speaking may be rejection, conflict, or loss. Yet the cost of silence is far greater. The cost of silence is the slow erosion of self-respect, the quiet surrender of your right to exist fully. When they ask for your silence, what they are truly asking is for you to disappear, to dilute yourself into something smaller, something less alive. But you are not meant to shrink into invisibility. Your voice is not noise, it is essence. Your words are not disruptions, they are the echoes of a life refusing to be diminished. When silence is imposed upon you, remember that the very weight of that demand reveals the potency of your truth. The silence they ask of you is not for your benefit, but for their protection from what cannot remain hidden forever. And so the decision rests not in their hands but in yours. To remain silent is to submit to their comfort. To speak is to honor your existence, to align yourself with the unshakable rhythm of authenticity, to breathe life into the very space where silence was meant to reign. Time is the most valuable resource a human being possesses. Unlike money, status, or possessions, it cannot be regained once it is spent. Every second that passes is a drop of life flowing away. And yet, many people treat time as if it were limitless, as if they could squander it without consequence. They ask for your time casually, sometimes even carelessly, not recognizing that what they are really asking for is a portion of your life itself. But the true challenge arises when you give, when you extend this precious gift and you receive nothing in return. Not gratitude, not growth, not meaning, only emptiness. When others ask for your time, they are making a silent agreement with you. They are acknowledging that your attention, your presence, your effort is of value. But if that request is not matched by respect, if it is not balanced by reciprocity, then the exchange is broken. And when exchanges are broken, imbalance is created. That imbalance weighs on the spirit because deep inside you understand that something sacred has been taken without acknowledgement. It is not the act of giving itself that drains you. It is giving into a void where nothing returns. There is a subtle difference between giving freely and being drained. Giving freely is rooted in choice, in abundance. It brings lightness because you know your energy is moving toward a worthy cause, toward someone or something that values it. But being drained comes from allowing your energy to flow into spaces where it is neither appreciated nor respected. It is like pouring water into a vessel with no bottom. No matter how much you give, it disappears. No matter how much you invest, nothing grows. This is where awareness becomes necessary. Not everyone who asks for your time deserves it. Not every request is aligned with your path. Many people ask because they are empty within themselves, seeking to fill their lack with the energy of others. They do not intend to return what they borrow because they have not cultivated the inner strength to generate their own abundance. And so they take and they take without ever realizing the silent harm they cause, not only to you but also to themselves, for dependence without reciprocity breeds weakness. Your time is a reflection of your energy, your focus, your life force. When someone asks for your time, they are asking you to shift your energy from your own journey to theirs. If they cannot honor this exchange, they are not truly asking for time. They are asking you to neglect yourself. And the danger is subtle, because it often comes disguised in small requests, in obligations, in distractions that appear harmless. But the sum of these small distractions becomes large. The erosion of your time is the erosion of your destiny. To protect your time is not selfishness. It is wisdom. It is the understanding that saying yes to everything is, in truth, saying no to the things that matter. Every time you give your attention to someone who offers nothing in return, you are pulling yourself away from your own growth, your own silence, your own alignment. The people who truly value you will never take without giving. Their presence will feed you as much as you feed them. Their words will lift you as much as yours lift them. True exchanges leave both sides nourished. But when you find yourself in spaces where the giving is one-sided, you must pause and observe. Ask yourself, what is being built here? What grows when I invest my energy? If the answer is nothing, then you are witnessing the truth. Some people do not want to grow with you. They simply want you to carry their weight. They want to borrow your light because they have not yet learned to kindle their own. If you allow it, they will continue to come back, not out of malice, but out of habit. For as long as you provide, they will consume. The real challenge, then, is not in recognizing those who take without giving. The real challenge lies in learning how to withdraw without bitterness, how to step back without guilt, how to protect your time without hardening your heart. Because if you respond with anger, you have still allowed them to control your energy. The art is to walk away silently, with clarity, with strength, knowing that your time is sacred and will no longer be wasted. When you reclaim your time, you reclaim your life. You create the space for alignment, for silence, for growth. You give yourself back to yourself. This is why the boundaries you set are not walls to keep others out, but shields to protect the integrity of your energy. Those who truly value your presence will honor those boundaries. They will not demand your time without giving their respect, their authenticity, their own energy in return. In this way, your relationships become mirrors. They reveal who respects the sacredness of your time and who does not. They reveal who is capable of reciprocity and who only knows how to consume. By observing this, you learn where to invest and where to withdraw, where to plant seeds and where to stop watering barren soil. Time is life. To give it is to give yourself. And so, to waste it on those who give nothing in return is to slowly abandon yourself without noticing. The lesson is not to stop giving, but to give with awareness, to give where growth is possible, to give where light is shared, to give where your presence has meaning. From the moment you step into the world, you are shaped, molded, and directed by voices that do not belong to you. Parents, teachers, friends, colleagues, society at large. Everyone carries an image of what you should be, and they hand you that image as if it were a mirror. But when you look into it, you cannot recognize yourself. They ask you to change who you are because who you are does not fit their expectations. And slowly, without realizing it, you start carrying their expectations as if they were your truth. You are told to smile when you don't feel joy. You are told to be strong when you feel weak. You are told to be quiet when your heart wants to speak. And each time you obey, you bend a little. You adjust, you compromise, you erase small parts of yourself until the shape you are left with is no longer the one you were born with. What people call acceptance is often nothing more than conformity. What they call respectability is often obedience to rules that were never yours to begin with. And what they call success can be a prison in disguise, a cage gilded with recognition but hollow of fulfillment. To live under the constant weight of expectation is to wear clothes that do not fit. They might look fine from the outside, but they restrict your movement, they suffocate your breath, and they limit your freedom. The body longs to expand, but the fabric resists. This is the condition of many lives restrained, uncomfortable, and shaped into something artificial. It is a quiet suffering, because most have accepted this as normal. When they ask you to change who you are, what they truly want is for you to make them comfortable. If you are too different, you challenge their assumptions. If you are too free, you expose their chains. If you refuse to follow, you reveal their obedience. And so they call your uniqueness a flaw, your authenticity a weakness, your difference a mistake. They want you to shrink so that they don't have to expand. They want you to silence yourself so that they don't have to listen differently. They want you to conform so that they don't have to change. But the cost of living this way is not theirs, it is yours. Every compromise you make to please others takes something from you. Every mask you wear hides your own reflection. Every false smile drains the true joy that tries to rise within you. And slowly, piece by piece, you become disconnected from your own essence. A life spent chasing approval is a life lived in exile from oneself. To resist this pressure is not easy. It requires courage to stand firm in the middle of expectations. It requires patience to endure the judgment of those who do not understand. It requires strength to walk a path that is not marked by the footprints of the majority. Yet it is in this resistance that your real life begins to take shape. Only when you refuse to change who you are for others do you begin to discover who you truly are for yourself. There is a deep peace that comes with living authentically, even when the world resists it. There is a quiet power in speaking with your own voice, even when it is drowned out by noise. There is a glow in walking in alignment with your essence, even when others turn away. It is not the easy path, but it is the only one that leads to freedom. For freedom is not given, it is claimed. And it is claimed each time you choose truth over acceptance, authenticity over conformity, being over pretending. They will always ask you to change. They will always push you to adjust, to soften, to compromise, because it is easier for them if you do. But the question is not about them, it is about you. How long will you betray yourself to satisfy the demands of others? How long will you let their voices drown out the sound of your own heart? How long will you trade your truth for their comfort? To remain who you are in a world that constantly demands otherwise is one of the highest forms of discipline. It is the art of saying no without anger, the art of walking away without resentment, the art of standing still while the currents try to pull you in. It is not rebellion for the sake of rebellion, but alignment for the sake of the soul. The journey to yourself is the longest journey because it requires shedding all that you are not. It requires peeling away the layers of expectation, the roles you were forced to play, the masks you learned to wear. Underneath, there is a rawness, a purity, a presence that needs no validation. That is who you were before they told you who to be. That is the self they asked you to change, but could never truly touch. And when you arrive at that place within yourself, you no longer fear rejection. For how can you be rejected when you no longer seek approval? How can you be diminished when you no longer measure yourself by their standards? How can you be controlled when you no longer carry the weight of their expectations? It is a paradox of life. The more you try to change for others, the less love you feel because you are never truly seen. But the more you remain as you are, the more love you attract. Not the love of everyone, but the love that is real, the love that recognizes you, the love that aligns with your essence. They will continue to ask you to change. They will insist, they will pressure, they will resist your authenticity. But if you are willing to hold your ground, if you are willing to stand in your own truth, then their demands lose power, their judgments lose weight, their voices lose control. And in that space, you begin to feel a strength that does not come from outside approval, but from inner alignment. There will always be voices in this world that carry the weight of limitation. They do not come dressed as enemies, and they do not always announce themselves with hostility. Often they speak softly, with the familiarity of friends, family, mentors, or society itself. They ask for your dreams to be smaller, not because they have measured the greatness within you, but because they have measured the boundaries within themselves. To dream beyond their horizon unsettles them. To stretch beyond the fence they built for their own comfort challenges the fragile walls of their beliefs. And so, they ask you, sometimes politely, sometimes insistently, to fold your vision down, to reduce the fire in your heart into something manageable, something acceptable, something ordinary. The request to shrink your dreams is never really about you. It is about their own fear of the unknown. When someone asks you to play small, what they are truly asking is that you do not disturb the rhythm of their world. They ask you not to shine too brightly, because your light casts a shadow on their comfort. They ask you not to reach too far, because your climb reminds them of their own stillness. They ask you not to want too much, because your hunger exposes the silence of their settled appetite. They are not your judges. They are mirrors reflecting back the places they have refused to grow. But dreams were not given to you as decorations. They are not ornaments to be displayed in the privacy of your imagination and hidden from the world. Dreams are seeds, placed deep inside your being, waiting to be watered by courage and persistence. To make them smaller is to suffocate the seed before it ever breaks through the soil. The seed does not apologize for becoming a tree, and the tree does not apologize for reaching towards the sun. The river does not apologize for flowing beyond the valley, and the flame does not apologize for burning with intensity. Why then should you apologize for carrying a vision larger than what others can imagine? When they ask for your dreams to be smaller, they may wrap their request in language of protection. They will say it is for your safety, that aiming too high will lead only to disappointment. They will tell you stories of those who tried and failed, of those who wanted and suffered. Their stories carry weight, but they are not your story. Their failures do not define your possibility. Their fears do not define your future. A life lived in fear is not proof of wisdom, it is proof of surrender. And the world does not change because of those who surrendered. It changes because of those who insisted on holding their vision even when it seemed impossible. Consider the great movements of history, the discoveries, the art, the revolutions of spirit and society. None of them were born from small dreams. They were born from visions that terrified the comfortable and unsettled the settled. The ones who carried those dreams forward were told the same words you hear now: be realistic. Lower your expectations. Settle for less. Dream smaller. But they refused. They understood that the size of their dream was not the problem. The problem was the fear of those who could not see it. To carry a large dream is to carry a burden. Yes, it means walking alone at times. It means being misunderstood, judged, doubted. But it also means carrying within you the possibility of transformation, not just for yourself, but for everyone your life touches. A large dream is a gift, and like all gifts, it comes with responsibility. You are responsible not to abandon it simply because it makes others uncomfortable. You are responsible not to shrink it to fit within the cages of another's imagination. There is an unspoken truth that those who ask you to dream smaller already know. They know that the moment you fully embrace the magnitude of your vision, their excuses will dissolve. They will no longer be able to hide behind the story that greatness is impossible. Your courage exposes their hesitation. Your growth reveals their stagnation. And so, in order to keep their world intact, they attempt to reduce yours. The temptation to comply is strong. It is easier to be accepted than to be questioned, easier to belong than to be different. To make your dreams smaller can feel like an act of peace, a way of avoiding conflict, a path to harmony. But harmony built on self-betrayal is an illusion. You cannot betray the fire within you and expect to feel warmth. You cannot deny your vision and expect to feel alive. To agree to smaller dreams is to agree to a smaller life. There is a discipline required to guard your dreams. Not a discipline of aggression, but of quiet strength. It is the discipline to remain still when others try to shake your confidence. It is the discipline to return again and again to the inner voice that whispers of possibilities greater than what your eyes can currently see. It is the discipline to protect the purity of your vision from the pollution of doubt. In this world, you will be asked to compromise many things. You will be asked to adjust, to adapt, to bend with the winds of circumstance. But do not compromise the size of your dreams. Do not accept a version of yourself that is smaller than the truth of who you are. The world does not need more people who agree to shrink. It needs those who dare to expand, those who carried their vision even when it felt too heavy, those who believed in possibilities larger than the ordinary. They will continue to ask for your dreams to be smaller. They will ask it in subtle ways, in conversations, in expectations, in the rules written and unwritten. They will ask it directly when your ambition unsettles them, when your fire burns brighter than they are willing to tolerate. They will ask it indirectly, through silence, through absence of support, through the weight of their indifference. They will ask again and again for you to fold yourself into a size that fits their comfort. In life, people carry patterns that repeat themselves again and again. A mistake is made, pain is caused, regret follows, and then the words appear, "I am sorry." On the surface, those two words carry the possibility of healing. They signal recognition of harm, acknowledgement of responsibility, and a willingness to repair. Yet, when forgiveness is asked for without change, it loses its meaning. The words are emptied of their weight, spoken not as a bridge toward growth, but as a shield to protect the self from consequence. True forgiveness is not a ritual of convenience. It is not meant to be extracted like a ticket that clears the path back to comfort. It is meant to follow transformation, to be the fruit of inner work, the evidence that one has understood the depth of their actions and reshaped their being so as not to repeat the cycle. Without change, asking for forgiveness is like pouring water into a cracked vessel. No matter how much is offered, it cannot be held, it cannot nourish, it cannot last. The human heart is not a well of infinite patience without discernment. It feels when the apology is shallow, when the pattern is unchanged, when the hurt is recycled again and again. The words may be repeated, but if the behavior returns in the same form, the apology becomes an illusion, a performance rather than a promise. Words without transformation lose their fragrance, like flowers cut off from their roots. Forgiveness is not a tool to erase the discomfort of accountability. It is not meant to soothe the conscience of the one who caused harm while leaving their habits untouched. To ask for forgiveness without change is to misuse the sacredness of human trust. It is to treat forgiveness as a shortcut rather than as the culmination of struggle. It is easy to say, "I am sorry," but it is difficult to face the discomfort of shifting one's own patterns, to step into the discipline of self-awareness, and to commit to new action. People ask for forgiveness because they sense the fracture they have caused. But when that request is not rooted in transformation, it carries the subtle arrogance of expecting another to carry the burden of repeated pain. It demands compassion without offering responsibility. It asks for grace without earning it. Forgiveness in this sense becomes one-sided, a transaction where one gives and the other only takes. The sincerity of forgiveness lies not in the sound of the words, but in the alignment of behavior. A changed action is the true apology. A reshaped habit is the genuine proof of regret. Transformation, not repetition, is the soil in which forgiveness takes root. Without it, the act of asking becomes hollow, like knocking on a door you never intend to walk through. When people ask for forgiveness without change, they often do so because change is uncomfortable. Change demands facing oneself in the mirror without excuses. It asks one to confront the shadows, the blind spots, the hidden motives. It requires breaking patterns that feel safe even while they cause harm. To truly change, one must abandon the comfort of habit and enter the uncertainty of growth. This is not easy, but it is the only path that makes forgiveness real. The cycle of hurt apology can go on endlessly when change is absent. Each time the words are spoken, they lose more of their weight. The person receiving the apology begins to sense the hollowness. Trust weakens, faith erodes, and the ground between them becomes unstable. Forgiveness without change becomes manipulation, a way to avoid accountability while continuing the same behavior. Forgiveness is sacred because it represents renewal. But renewal is impossible when the soil of action remains the same. If one plants the same seeds in the same way, the same fruit will grow. To expect forgiveness to yield new life without planting differently is to misunderstand its nature. Forgiveness is not magic, it is a response to sincerity, to effort, to the visible presence of transformation. The human spirit longs for congruence. It longs for the alignment of words and actions, for apologies that are not just spoken but embodied. To see change is to believe in the apology. To feel change is to trust again. Without it, forgiveness becomes a burden, asked for but never honored, given but never respected. When forgiveness is asked for without change, it becomes an act of self-interest rather than humility. It centers the comfort of the one who caused harm rather than the healing of the one who was harmed. Real forgiveness emerges when responsibility is carried, when the effort of transformation is visible, when words and deeds mirror one another. The practice of forgiveness should never be confused with the avoidance of consequences. To ask for forgiveness without change is to run from those consequences, to use words as a disguise. But words cannot replace action, and intent without discipline cannot produce transformation. Forgiveness, when it is authentic, is the echo of change, the evidence of inner work made visible in the outer world. Every apology carries within it a choice. It can be the end of a cycle or the continuation of one. It can be the seed of transformation or the mask that hides repetition. To ask for forgiveness without change is to choose stagnation while pretending to seek growth. It is to seek the comfort of being forgiven while resisting the discomfort of becoming someone new. The weight of forgiveness rests not in the words spoken, but in the actions that follow. Without change, forgiveness asked for becomes a plea for relief rather than an offering of renewal. It becomes a request for another's mercy while refusing to give mercy to oneself by breaking the chains of repetition. True forgiveness cannot live where change is absent because forgiveness is not a door to be knocked on, it is the path that appears only after one has walked differently. Loyalty is a word that carries weight. It is spoken with reverence, expected as a natural virtue, and often demanded without hesitation. Yet in its essence, loyalty cannot be forced, nor can it exist where integrity has already been fractured. The paradox of human relations lies here. Many will extend their hands and speak of loyalty, yet in their actions, they unravel the very fabric of what they claim to value. They ask for your unwavering trust, your patience, your dedication. Yet when it comes time for them to embody the same principles, they allow themselves exceptions, excuses, and betrayals. When loyalty is genuine, it is not a burden, nor does it need to be announced. It flows silently through actions, through presence, through consistency. It does not have to be demanded, for its presence is felt without words. But when loyalty is broken, when the chain of trust is fractured, the silent weight of disappointment grows heavier than any words could describe. It is in these moments that one sees the difference between those who merely speak of loyalty and those who live it. True loyalty is not tested when everything is easy. It reveals itself when the road is uncertain, when difficulties rise, when silence and patience are required. But for those who demand loyalty without giving it, their expectation becomes a mask, a shield they use to hide their inconsistency. They want to receive the stability of another's dedication. yet they are unwilling to stand still long enough to offer the same. This imbalance is what creates wounds, because loyalty cannot exist as a one-sided agreement. In the deeper layers of this dynamic lies an uncomfortable truth. People who break their own loyalty often do so because they value their immediate desires over their deeper commitments. They allow impulses to override integrity, they trade constancy for convenience, and in the process, they reveal that loyalty was never to you, but to themselves. What they really ask for is not loyalty, but submission. They want you to remain in place while they move as they wish, to forgive endlessly while they betray repeatedly, to remain faithful to an image of them that they themselves cannot uphold. To understand this is not to grow bitter, but to see clearly. It is to recognize that loyalty must not be given blindly, for blind loyalty is not devotion. It is self-abandonment. And self-abandonment in the name of another's broken promises is the surest way to lose your own center. The strength lies in realizing that your loyalty must first belong to truth, to integrity, to the alignment between words and actions. When another asks for loyalty but does not mirror it, they are asking you to betray yourself on their behalf. The weight of this betrayal is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is subtle promises left unkept, words that change with convenience, actions that contradict commitments. These small fractures accumulate, and over time, what was once trust becomes doubt, what was once steady becomes fragile. And yet, those who break their loyalty will still demand it from others, as if the imbalance is invisible. This is why discernment is necessary. To see not only what is spoken, but what is lived. To notice whether loyalty is reflected back or whether it is only extracted. In silence, you begin to understand that loyalty is not about chains or cages. It is about choice. It is not about staying no matter the cost, but about standing where integrity lives. When loyalty becomes a cage, it is no longer loyalty, but imprisonment. And when it is demanded by those who break their own, it becomes exploitation. Freedom comes when one realizes that loyalty given to dishonor is energy wasted, and loyalty given to truth is energy that multiplies. The beauty of loyalty lies in its purity. It cannot be bought, forced, or manipulated. Once broken, it cannot return to its original state, for trust, once shattered, does not heal into the same form. This is why those who ask for loyalty while breaking their own create such dissonance. They seek to control what cannot be controlled, to claim what they have already destroyed. And yet, many still bend under this weight, giving what is no longer deserved, hoping that sacrifice will restore balance. But sacrifice does not restore integrity. Only alignment between words and actions can do that. As you witness this pattern, a question rises: to whom should your loyalty belong? To fleeting promises, to broken commitments, to those who betray the very values they demand? Or should it belong to what is constant, unshackable, eternal, your own integrity, your own truth, your own path? The answer reveals itself when you strip away the noise. Loyalty is not about clinging. It is about standing with strength where trust is mutual and respect is alive. They may ask for your loyalty while breaking their own, but the deeper truth is that loyalty cannot survive in dishonor. It can only thrive in reciprocity. When it is no longer mirrored, it ceases to exist, and what remains is not loyalty, but illusion. To give loyalty where it is not returned is to hand over your energy to a void, a place where it will not grow, but only drain. The clarity comes when you step back and see. The demand for loyalty from those who betray their own is not a call for unity, but a reflection of their emptiness.